I was sitting on the balcony of my hotel room in Turks and Caicos, watching the sunset paint the ocean in shades of orange and pink. My phone buzzed for the 47th time that day. I glanced at the screen. Another call from my mother. I set it face down on the table and took a sip of my piña colada. 3 months ago, I received my little sister's wedding invitation in the mail. Not handed to me personally like everyone else in the family. Just a formal cream envelope with my name typed on the front. Inside, I discovered something that made my stomach drop. My name was not on the bridesmaid list. I was not invited to help with any preparations. I was just another guest. The hurt settled in my chest like a stone. I never imagined that choosing myself would become the biggest lesson my family ever learned. Before I tell you what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments below, and please hit that like button and subscribe. You will want to hear how this story unfolds. Trust me. My name is Zoe. I am 28 years old, and I work as a graphic designer in Portland, Oregon. My sister Madison is 3 years younger than me. We grew up in a middle-class family, just the three of us, after Dad passed away when I was 15. Madison was only 12 then. Our mother Linda worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. I became the responsible older sister by default. I cooked dinner most nights while Mom pulled double shifts at the hospital. I helped Madison with her homework. I saved my part-time job money to help with her college applications. I gave up things I wanted so she could have what she needed. Madison was the baby of the family. She was beautiful, outgoing, and always the center of attention wherever she went. Everyone adored her. I was proud of that. I loved watching her shine. We were different in so many ways, but I always believed we were close. I thought nothing could break that bond. 6 months before that balcony moment, Madison came home with big news. She was engaged. Her boyfriend Tyler had proposed during a weekend trip to the coast. Tyler was 30 years old, a real estate agent from a wealthy family. I had met him a handful of times. He seemed nice enough, if a little distant. Mom threw a small celebration dinner at her house. I brought champagne and flowers. Madison showed off her engagement ring. It was a massive diamond that caught the light from every angle. Tyler sat beside her, smiling politely. He talked mostly about his family's business and their plans for a lavish wedding. Mom cried happy tears. She kept saying how grateful she was that her baby girl would be taken care of. I felt happy for Madison. Truly I did, but there was a small knot in my stomach. A quiet voice wondering why Mom never said those things about me. I was still single, still scraping by on freelance projects. Still the responsible one who never got to be celebrated. I assumed I would be Madison's maid of honor. I was her only sister. We had talked about weddings when we were kids, planning out every detail in our shared bedroom. I imagined helping her pick out her dress, organizing the bridal shower, standing beside her as she married the man she loved. But 2 weeks after the engagement, Madison called me. She sounded nervous. She said she had something to tell me, but she wanted to do it over the phone. My heart sank before she even started talking. She told me that her maid of honor would be Amber. Amber was her best friend from college. They had known each other for 7 years. Madison said she hoped I would understand. She said Amber had been there for her through so much. I swallowed the lump in my throat and forced myself to sound supportive. I told her I understood. I asked if I could at least be a bridesmaid. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Madison cleared her throat. She said she already had 6 bridesmaids picked out. She said, I did not need to worry about all the responsibilities that came with being in the wedding party. She said I could just come as a guest and enjoy the day. I could not believe what I was hearing. I asked her to repeat herself. She sighed, sounding annoyed. She said she knew I was busy with work. She said she did not want to burden me. Then she added something that made my blood run cold. She said, Tyler wanted the wedding to be perfect. He wanted only people who fit the vision. I understood what she meant by that. I was not polished enough. I did not come from money. I wore simple clothes and drove an old car. I did not fit into the world Tyler and his family inhabited. I hung up the phone without saying much else. I sat alone in my small apartment, staring at the wall. The hurt started as a dull ache and grew into something sharper. 3 weeks later, the wedding invitation arrived in my mailbox. It came through the postal service like I was just another name on a list. The envelope was thick and expensive. Inside was a beautifully embossed card with gold lettering. The venue was a 5-star resort outside the city. My name was printed with the words, "and guest" next to it. There was no personal note, no acknowledgement that I was the bride's sister. Meanwhile, I saw my mother posting on Instagram about planning the bridal shower with her baby girl. I was not invited to the bridal shower. I called my mom to ask about it. She sounded uncomfortable. She said Madison was very busy and stressed. She told me not to add to that stress. I felt my chest tighten. I asked if she thought it was fair that I was being left out of everything. She did not answer directly. She just repeated that I should not make things harder for Madison. Over the next 2 months, I watched from the sidelines as my sister's wedding took shape. Madison posted constantly on Instagram. Pictures of dress fittings with her 6 bridesmaids, all of them laughing and holding champagne glasses. I was not in a single photo. One day, I stopped by my mother's house unannounced. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. A notification lit up the screen. It was a group chat called Madison's Bride Squad. I saw messages flying back and forth about bachelorette party plans. My name was not on that list either. When I asked my mom about it, she looked guilty, but said nothing. She changed the subject quickly. I felt like I was watching my sister's life from behind glass, close enough to see everything but completely shut out. Madison organized a bachelorette party weekend in Napa Valley. She rented a house and planned wine tastings and spa treatments. I only found out about it through social media. Photos of Madison and her bridesmaids wearing matching silk robes flooded my feed. I tried to reach out a few times. I sent Madison texts asking how wedding planning was going. Her responses were short and cold. One day, I called her on video chat. She answered, but I could see Amber and the other bridesmaids in the background. They were trying on dresses. Madison barely looked at the camera. She said she was busy and would call me back later. She never did. I finally decided I needed to talk to my mother face to face. I drove to her house one evening after work. I told her we needed to have a serious conversation. I asked her why she was allowing Madison to treat me this way. My mom sighed deeply. She sat down at the kitchen table and folded her hands. She said Tyler's family was very prominent. She said Madison wanted everything to be perfect. She used that word again. Perfect. I felt my throat tighten. I asked her if I was not good enough to stand beside my own sister. My mom looked away. She said it was not about that. She said I had a more casual style and that Madison's friends were all very polished. She said Madison wanted to avoid uncomfortable comparisons. I stared at my mother in disbelief. She was supposed to be on my side. Instead, she was defending Madison's decision to erase me from the most important day of her life. I asked if she truly believed I was not good enough. She did not answer. She just said I should not make a big deal out of it. She said the wedding was coming up soon, and I should just show up and be supportive. I left her house that night feeling more alone than I ever had. 1 week before the wedding, I received an email. It was from Patricia Morrison Tyler's mother. The subject line read, "Wedding Guest Guidelines." I opened it with a sense of dread. The email was polite but cold. Patricia wrote that the dress code for the wedding was formal black tie. She said the venue had high standards and all guests were expected to dress accordingly. She included a list of suggested stores, Nordstrom, and higher-end boutiques. She recommended designer heels and evening gowns. At the bottom of the email, she wrote something that made my hands shake. She said she understood that not everyone was familiar with high society events. She offered to provide guidance on appropriate attire if I needed it. I read that line 3 times. The condescension dripped from every word. I immediately called Madison. I asked if she knew about the email her future mother-in-law had sent me. Madison sounded irritated. She told me not to create drama. She said Patricia just wanted the wedding to look elegant. Then she said something I will never forget. She said I could not just show up in jeans like I usually did. I felt my face grow hot. I asked if she really thought I would embarrass her like that. She snapped back that I was putting words in her mouth, but the message was clear. She thought I was not good enough. That night I sat alone in my apartment. I looked at the wedding invitation sitting on my desk. I thought about everything I had sacrificed for my family over the years. I thought about giving up a year of college to work full-time so Madison could afford her tuition. I thought about all the times I put her needs before my own. And now, I was being treated like a burden, like someone who needed to be managed and hidden. I opened my laptop. I searched for beach resorts in the Caribbean. I do not know what possessed me to do it. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was self-preservation. I found a resort in Turks and Caicos with a special deal. 5 days for $1,200. It was all the money I had saved over the past 3 months. I stared at the booking page for a long time. My cursor hovered over the confirm button. I thought about my mother's disappointment. I thought about Madison's fury. But then I thought about showing up to that wedding and being treated like I did not matter. I clicked the button. The confirmation email arrived in my inbox seconds later. Your reservation at Paradise Bay Resort is confirmed. The dates match the week of Madison's wedding. I felt a strange mix of relief and terror. I sent Madison a text message. I kept it short. I told her I would not be able to attend her wedding. I said I had something important come up. I wished her happiness. I did not explain further. Then I turned off my phone. The morning of Madison's wedding, I boarded a plane to Turks and Caicos. I watched Portland disappear beneath the clouds. My stomach was a knot of anxiety and exhilaration. I kept wondering if I was making a huge mistake, but I also felt something I had not felt in months. Freedom. I arrived at the resort just before 10 in the morning. The wedding ceremony was scheduled for 4 in the afternoon Portland time. I checked into my room. It had a balcony overlooking the ocean. The view was breathtaking. Turquoise water stretched out to the horizon. I changed into my swimsuit and went down to the beach. I found a lounge chair under a palm tree and stretched out with a book I had been meaning to read for months. The sun was warm on my skin. The sound of the waves was calming. I tried not to think about what was happening back home. I tried not to picture Madison in her dressing room surrounded by her bridesmaids. I tried not to imagine my mother frantically trying to reach me. But around 2 in the afternoon, my phone started buzzing. I had turned it back on out of habit. The notifications came in rapid succession. 8 missed calls from my mother, then 10, then 15. Text messages flooded in. My mother's messages were frantic. "Zoe, where are you? Call me immediately. This is an emergency." I stared at my phone, my heart pounding. I thought about calling back, but then I remembered the past 6 months. I remembered being excluded and dismissed. I remembered my mother telling me not to make things difficult for Madison. I turned off the notifications and put my phone back in my bag. I ordered a margarita from the beach bar. I told myself I deserved this. I deserved to choose myself for once. By late afternoon, the calls had multiplied. I returned to my room to shower and change for dinner. When I picked up my phone, the screen was filled with missed calls. 47 in total. They were from multiple numbers. My mother, Madison, unknown numbers that I assumed were people from the wedding. There were dozens of text messages. I scrolled through them, my hands trembling. My mother's messages ranged from desperate to angry. Madison's messages were harder to read. One simply said, "Zoe, please, I need you." Call me back. There were voicemails too. I sat on the edge of the bed and started listening to them. The first voicemail was from my mother. Her voice was shaky. "Zoe, the wedding is ruined. Tyler left. He called it off right before the ceremony. Madison is devastated. Where are you? You need to come home right now." I felt my breath catch. I played the next voicemail. It was Madison. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. "Zoe, Tyler said he does not love me. He left me at the altar in front of everyone. I do not know what to do. I need you." Where are you? The third voicemail was my mother again. This time, her voice was furious. "Zoe Marie Thompson, your sister needed you today and you were not here. What are you doing? Call me back immediately." The fourth voicemail was from an unfamiliar voice. It was Patricia Tyler's mother. Her tone was clipped and cold. "Ms. Thompson, this is Patricia Morrison. Despite the unfortunate events today, we would appreciate your support for Madison. She is quite distressed. Your absence has been noted." I sat there staring at the wall. The wedding had fallen apart. Tyler had abandoned Madison at the altar, in front of 150 guests, in front of her bridesmaids and her family and everyone she wanted to impress. She was destroyed, and now everyone wanted me to come back and fix it. I felt a wave of conflicting emotions crash over me. Part of me wanted to book the next flight home. Part of me wanted to run to Madison and hold her while she cried. But another part of me, a louder part, remembered everything that had led to this moment. I thought about the way Madison had excluded me from every part of her wedding. I thought about the email from Patricia implying I was not sophisticated enough for their world. I thought about my mother telling me not to burden Madison with my feelings. I thought about all the years I'd spent putting my family first, sacrificing my own dreams so Madison could have hers, working 2 jobs to help pay for her education, cooking and cleaning and caring for everyone while I was still a child myself. And when Madison had her perfect life within reach, she pushed me aside. She made me feel small and unwanted. She only remembered I existed now that everything had fallen apart. I felt anger rise in my chest. They did not need me when things were going well. They only needed me to clean up the mess. I picked up my phone. I typed out a single text message to Madison. I read it over 3 times before hitting send. "Madison, I am sorry for what happened today, but I cannot be there for you right now the same way you were not there for me for the past 6 months. I need time for myself. I hope you find strength." Then I blocked every number that had called me. I deleted the voicemails. I turned off my social media apps. I walked out onto the balcony and looked at the ocean. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of pink and gold. I felt tears stream down my face, but they were not tears of regret. They were tears of release. I spent the next 4 days in Turks and Caicos doing exactly what I wanted. I woke up early each morning and attended a yoga class on the beach. The instructor was a local woman named Grace who had a calming presence. I went snorkeling and saw colorful fish darting between coral reefs. I read 2 novels I had bought months ago, but never had time to open. I sat at the resort bar in the evenings and talked to other travelers. One night, I met a woman named Sarah. She was 32 from Boston and traveling alone after ending a long-term relationship. We bonded over piña coladas and stories about choosing ourselves over toxic situations. I told her about Madison's wedding, about being excluded and then expected to come running when things went wrong. Sarah listened without judgment. When I finished, she said something that stuck with me. "You cannot light yourself on fire to keep others warm." Those words settled into my chest like a truth I had always known but never acknowledged. On my last morning at the resort, I sat on the balcony with a cup of coffee. I felt different, lighter. For the first time in years, I was not carrying the weight of my family's expectations. I was not trying to be the perfect daughter or the perfect sister. I was just Zoe. And that felt like enough. When I flew back to Portland, I knew I had to face reality. I turned my phone back on during the layover in Miami. The notifications flooded in immediately. Over 100 text messages. Most were from my mother. They started angry, then became pleading, and eventually turned bitter. There were a few from Madison, too. The most recent one, sent 2 days earlier, read, "You win, Zoe. You proved you do not care about me. I hope your trip was worth it." I felt a pang of sadness, but I did not regret my decision. I had done what I needed to do. When I got back to my apartment, I spent 2 days processing everything. I cleaned my space. I made myself healthy meals. I went for long walks around the neighborhood. I did not reach out to anyone. Finally, I called my mother. The conversation was tense. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was cold. "Do you have any idea what your sister has been through?" I took a deep breath. I asked if she had any idea what I had been through. There was silence on the other end. I told her I understood Madison was hurting, But I also told her I had been hurting for months. I said I was tired of being the one who always had to sacrifice. I said I needed my family to see me as someone who mattered, not just someone who was useful when things fell apart. My mother did not know what to say. She tried to argue, but her words fell flat. I told her I needed space. Then I hung up. The first week back was hard. I felt guilty. I questioned whether I had been selfish. I talked to my best friend Jenna, a teacher who had known me since high school. She listened to the entire story without interrupting. When I finished, she hugged me tightly. She told me I had done something incredibly brave. She said standing up for yourself always feels wrong at first when you have spent your whole life putting others first. Her words helped. I decided to start seeing a therapist. I found someone who specialized in family dynamics. In our sessions, I began to understand patterns I had never noticed before. My therapist explained something called parentification. It is when a child is forced to take on adult responsibilities too early. I had been parentified after my father died. I became a second parent to Madison and a support system for my mother. I never got to just be a kid. And I had carried that role into adulthood, always putting everyone else's needs above my own. Understanding that helped me let go of some of the guilt. I started taking better care of myself. I joined a yoga studio. I began painting again, something I had loved as a teenager, but abandoned when life got busy. I spent time with friends who valued me for who I was, not for what I could do for them. Slowly, I started to feel whole again. 6 weeks after the wedding, Madison reached out. She sent a simple text. "Zoe, can we talk?" I thought about ignoring it, but I also knew I could not move forward without at least hearing her out. I agreed to meet at a neutral coffee shop downtown. When Madison walked in, I barely recognized her. She looked thin and tired. Her eyes were puffy, like she had been crying for weeks. We sat down across from each other. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then, Madison started to cry. She apologized. She said she had no excuse for the way she treated me. She said she had been so caught up in trying to fit into Tyler's world that she lost sight of what mattered. She explained that Tyler and his family had put enormous pressure on her to present a certain image. She said she was ashamed of how she had pushed me aside to meet their expectations. Now that Tyler was gone, she realized she had sacrificed the people who truly loved her for someone who did not. I listened without interrupting. I could see her pain. I believed her apology was genuine, but I also knew that an apology did not erase months of hurt. I told her I forgave her, but I also told her our relationship would have to be different going forward. I said I could not go back to being the person who always gave and never received. Madison nodded. She said she understood. She said she wanted to do better. I told her we could take things slowly, that we could rebuild, but it would take time. We finished our coffee and hugged before parting ways. It was not a perfect reconciliation, but it was a start. My relationship with my mother took longer to repair. She struggled to understand why I had made the choice I did. In her mind, family was supposed to show up no matter what. But eventually, after several difficult conversations, she began to see my perspective. She admitted she had favored Madison in ways that were not fair. She said she had always worried more about Madison because she seemed more fragile. She had taken for granted that I would always be strong and dependable. Hearing her acknowledge that helped. It did not fix everything, but it was a step in the right direction. I learned something powerful on that beach in Turks and Caicos. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is walk away, not out of spite, but out of self-respect. You cannot pour from an empty cup. My family wanted me to be there for them, but they never asked if I was okay. That week, I chose myself. And it did not make me selfish. It made me whole. Today, Madison and I are slowly rebuilding, but it is on new terms where I am not the one who always sacrifices. I am not angry anymore. I am just free. And sometimes freedom is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Have you ever had to choose yourself over family expectations? I would love to hear your story in the comments. If this resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you find the courage to choose yourself when you need to. Take care of your heart. You deserve it.